guests, Verbal and Taku Takahashi. You know them best as m-flo. So how many of you guys have been listening to m-flo since their first album, Planet Shining, in the crowd here?
Before.
Oh, are you one of those waving burger guys? Very nice. How many of you are familiar with them from the Love series? Okay, so it's like a good turnout. A lot of your earlier fans here, so it should be interesting. Yeah. So I'm going to start out actually kind of like with your guys' formative years a little bit. And I was curious, when did you guys each respectively start making or getting involved in music, either from like playing instruments, writing lyrics, or anything of that nature as kids or teens?
Well, while Taku's checking his phone, I'm just gonna... So, for me, I started writing lyrics in junior high. School just for fun. And Taku, who I've known since 5th grade, noticed that I was writing lyrics that, I'm just kind of, would tell my friends about. So at a high school dance party where he was supposed to DJ, he had asked me to jump on set, and that's how we initially started making music together.
Yeah, I started doing DJing almost the same time as Verbal started rapping, but we were in a total different place, playing total different genre. But apparently, we wanted to do a performance for the dance part itself, and I think we just what was the first concert like? It was a cafeteria, I remember.
Yeah, it was. We went to an international school called St. Mary's in Tokyo, and we would have these dance parties every 2 months because we went to an all-guys school, and for us to be able to socialize with girls, they would set up these dance parties, and he would DJ. He was one of the only DJs. One of the maybe 2 DJs in the whole school.
I guess,
Yeah. So he would be the pioneer of actually using 2 turntables and scratching, and this was in the early 90s, so it was pretty new and fresh, and for me to jump on set and MC, and I guess it was kind of new back then.
It was very new. It was very new. And there weren't if you look at Billboard today, you see a lot of rap channels, but rap songs weren't mainstream back then, I guess. And even the stuff I like, the dance music, It was a time when D-Light released Good in the Heart. Well, that's a little 3 years later, but until then, it was all heavy metal and hard rock. Which is fine. I play drums too, so. But we got that's how we started.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you guys went to St. Mary's together, from a pretty young age.
St. Mary's International School, yeah.
And I'm actually I'm kind of curious, were you guys friends kind of immediately? How did you guys connect with each other, become friends, and start kind of aside from what you just mentioned with the lyrics thing, how did you guys kind of start connecting with each other back then?
So I went into St. Mary's in my 3rd grade, and Taku came in from 5th grade from another school, and my first impression of Taku was, man, what a weirdo. Because the first thing he told me, as far as I can remember, if I can remember correctly, was, do you want to be in my movie? I was like, say what? I'm gonna shoot a movie, and I want you to be in it. And being a 5th grader, not knowing anything about how to make a movie, what I'm talking about, I just thought it was the coolest thing, so I was like, yeah, sure, what is it about? And he goes, Tokyo Summit. And, big topic, I don't even know what that meant, I just thought it was cool. And subsequently, it never came out, but I just thought he was this guy with big ideas, really crazy, you know, I always thought he was a genius.
You know, I just happened to have a camera back then. You know, and if elementary school kid, if a 5th grade kid has a camera, video camera. Wait, now you know you guys have this, right? But being able to record something on video was like, it was crazy. Like you wouldn't have it every home. So I just wanted to film a sci-fi movie, and I thought Verbal would be great. And sorry, it never happened, but anyways, that's how that's Verbal's impression. My impression of Verbal was that this guy talks a lot.
That's the name.
Yeah, and honestly speaking, in elementary school, aside from like the Tokyo Summit thingy, we played once in a while. We had like air rifle guns and played at the park and did some like we call it survival game. And we played some Nintendo together once in a while. And his dad owned a real cool like badass game center or game arcade. So we got to play free games. Yeah, and that was crazy. Like, we played Gauntlet, Afterburner was there, like a lot of like real good games were there. And, yeah, well, but aside from that, like, Verbal really got into skateboarding, while I was rather into watching Japanese baseball, or like listening to other music. So we never really hang out until like we both found out we did music. Like Verbal is rap, and I like dance music. And also like hard rock too, but that's how we started to, like, doing music was like us, like, almost like playing together. And that was in sophomore year? Yeah, in high school.
So, talking about like doing the music in high school and like doing these dance parties and stuff, it's reported that you guys had a group together in high school called NMD. And I was wondering if you guys could tell me a little bit about that and kind of like how that came to be, or if that was like born out of this like dance party thing that you guys were doing.
NMD was a moniker that I had for a graffiti team, and it stood for No More Discrimination. I mean, back then I thought that was like, it was like a thing for us, you know, like we were, you know, in the midst of this free speech thing in the United States, and you know, and we had topics, you know, ranging from very surface political stuff all the way to just partying. So you know, that was the beginning of how we started doing music.
So did you actually go graffitiing on the wall?
Yeah, I was tagging. That was my intro to hip hop, and then I got focused more on dancing and rapping, I guess, because back in the 90s there was a big dancing movement in Japan with Dance Koshien and Dada LMD. These were like big TV shows, and they would introduce American hip hop songs, and they would credit them on the during the show while people do these routines. And you know, that's how I got into hip hop, actually. I found out about American artists. And anyway, yeah, so NMD just kind of naturally came about from that group, and from a graffiti team it became a music group, and it was a very eclectic band.
Yeah. So remember I mentioned about the high school dance we did. It turned out okay, kind of, I think. And but so we had a show. Like I had a rock band. On that day, I had 2 different shows. I DJ and Verbal rapped on the song, and I also had another band. And I had a guitar friend, and that ended up becoming the NMD. Like those like my hard rock heavy metal friend, my rap friend got together and became a eclectic band. It was like so it'll be like hard guitar sounding riffs with real like hip hop, authentic hip hop mixed together. And so NMD started as a no more discrimination, but Verbal came up with another name, Notorious Music Division.
That's right. It eventually stood for Notorious Music Division.
Yeah, this is kind of like interesting because this is before Rage Against the Machine, like was doing something like that. Or the closest like inspiration was Anthrax doing Public Enemy, Bring It On. I mean, actually, that was our first song that we ever covered. Everything was original, like what we made, and it's just happened because that's what we had, and it just became eclectic. And so, like speaking about being active, like Verbal was really. I shouldn't call it like a promoter, but Verbal loved to spread spread people what we were doing. Like we made a mixtape, and Verbal has it out to his classmates or our classmates, or he sends application to a TV show called House Energy, and that's how we first we performed at House Energy. This show called House is like a late night music show. Actually, it was a late night dance battle show, I guess.
It was like an audition.
Yeah, and we just won, and that's how we got connected to music industry. But we ended up not being a professional musician because we wanted to go to college.
So yeah, I was going to get to that next actually. Yeah, it had been reported that you guys had gotten at least some kind of offers or had been successful with that, but then split off to kind of do your own thing. Did you guys stay in you went to college, Taku, in California and Boston. You were in Boston, Verbal, correct?
Yeah.
Did you guys stay in touch while you guys were in the States at all, or how did you guys reconnect when everything was all said and done with your college careers?
So our communication was pretty sparse or spotty during college, but he would contact me when there was something cool or some interesting music that he wanted to do, or as far as I can remember. So during breaks we would get together, and eventually, many years down the line, that's how we got back together and started m-flo. But we would connect every once in a while during college.
Yeah, we just called. So we never had MP3s back then. So I called him and I made him listen to the song that we find out. There was this group called Buddha Brand, and this was one of the first Japanese hip hop group where they mixed English and Japanese to release it. And Verbal was actually kind of what we were doing mainly was everything was in English, but once in a while Verbal made a song in English and Japanese mixed together just for a joke. But when I first heard Buddha Brand, I was like, I gotta make Verbal listen to this. So I called him up, made him listen to the phone, and asked him what do you think. And at some point, Verbal just decided to stop rapping too, or kind of hiding his classmates that he was rapping. I still don't know why you were doing that. I asked you why, but you answered, but I still didn't understand why you were hiding.
Well, just to kind of fill in what he was mentioning earlier about us getting the record deal. So naturally, when you make mixtapes or whatever demos, you need artwork. So I took liberty to draw, because I used to graffiti, right? So draw artwork for our group NMD and send these demo tapes to people, and give it to friends and give it to our teachers. And one of them happened to go to this TV station, which they took seriously and asked us to come in to audition. And we went through the first audition, second audition, eventually we got to the show, and we won the show. And we were given an offer from this record company that is currently defunct called For Life.
And
that doesn't exist.
Yeah, we got several offers. We got from For Life, Warner Brothers, Warner Music, and I forgot, like 3 or 4 major labels.
Yeah.
I was psyched.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but we didn't take it because, like he also mentioned earlier, in the early 90s, this was like 91, 92, there was nobody who was making it on the charts rapping, in Japan, and Asian, so we just thought it wasn't, we wanted to do it, we thought it was the coolest thing, but our parents were totally against it. I don't know about yours, but my parents were like, I don't know if there's any Korean or Chinese people here, but Asian parents are, they won't have it, so they're just like, you're not gonna go there, don't even talk about it. So I was like, okay, so I just kind of put that, dream to rest, sort of. So to Taku's point, I didn't really talk about me doing music in college because I didn't want people asking me or being like, yo, can you just start rapping right on the spot or ask me anything like that. So I just kind of put it to rest and didn't really talk about it. So he would take jabs at me and tell me about Buddha brand and, and like he said, this is pre-internet days, or rather, it's not like now. So when he sent me MP3s, like a 3 megabyte song would take like overnight or something. But he would tell me about this hip hop movement going on in Japan where people were just, wilding, and lots of great musicians came out of there. So, I mean, I was inspired from that, and actually it got me, got my mojo back, is how you would say it. Yeah.
That's like really cool to hear. So yeah, you guys just kind of stayed in touch then. That kind of makes me curious then. I know you and I had a conversation verbal yesterday about like kind of your college career and you eventually just like ending up back in Japan due to issues with tuition and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Taku has previously told us in our last panel about like, how he ended up going back to Japan as well. Your guys' first track together as m-flo was The Way We Were, as a Barbra Streisand cover. And I know like initially you guys recorded it with a different vocalist. I know it was like a GTS project, but how did that like even happen? Like how did you get in touch with GTS to do this track? How did you, Verbal, get involved with doing raps on it? Like how did that whole thing come together?
I think that's, I should answer this. So I decided to live in Japan, so I had to find somewhere to work. And I had some confidence that I can do music. But I think I was a bit too cocky or arrogant because I find out it's not easy. But I had a vocalist and did a group called Love Soul. And apparently she was my friend from high school. And it was through actually her connection. She had a lot of different, she knew a lot of industry people, and we kept on sending Love Soul's demos everywhere. And the first person who, or maybe the only person who really took us seriously was G from GTS. He owned his agency, and but this Love Soul group it just didn't work. We kind of split, and one day G from GTS says, "Hey, Taku, would you like to do some remix?" I'm like, yeah, sure. And that was when Verbal was back in town, because it was during like a winter break or summer break. I forgot. And I asked Verbal, called Verbal up and hey, can you come to Yokohama? And I was like, wait, 2 hours, 1 hour and a half hour train. I lived far, but I asked Verbal to come, and he was kind enough to show up. And he made the rap part for Way We Were. At the same time, we made Wright Brothers. So, yeah, that's in the evening.
Was that without Lisa at the time?
Yes, it was without Lisa. So, there's, it was only us, and we thought it was really cool. And we presented to GTS, Richie.
So, all this time when he had been doing Love Soul, I did not know that because I was already in school, or graduated rather, and I started going to study masters. And as Eddie was saying, I couldn't pay tuition, so I was kind of going back to Tokyo on winter break, sort of trying to figure out how to get, make money to go back to school.
Seriously, wow.
And that's when Taku said, look, I'm back in music, professional. I have this gig, or rather this track that I have to remix, and if all goes well, we'll release 500 vinyls. And I was sold. I was like, man, I'm gonna go do my rap. I mean, why not? It's like for fun, for old time's sake, kind of. And then that's where I did my 16 bars for this remix, and that took us, to the next thing, which was Rhyme Brokers, and
Yeah, I think it was the same night.
was it the same night?
We did it again. Like we never slept.
Yeah, we thought it was the coolest thing. I remember driving in Taku's car. We would repeat that song like over and over in the cassette deck.
Yeah,
Back then.
Yeah.
It was just us. Taku was more into rapping back then, so it was just me and him rapping back and forth, and it was kind of fresh because I think we had this 4-year gap between high school or 4 or 5 year gap between high school and when we did this demo. So we were both rapping in English and Japanese, kind of, it was kind of very, very new back then. So we weren't even sure if it was legit, but we're just like, yeah, this is cool, So I think that's the first imprint of m-flo DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that lead into you guys inviting Lisa to come on board and also re-recording that track?
I just felt we needed a female vocalist. So just called Lisa, and I think I told her I'll pay her $500. Lisa just brings this up once in a while. I guess I owe her $500. I didn't say $500. It was probably GTSG said I can pay out to $500. That's what he said.
And he told me 500 vinyls, so 500 kilo.
Yeah, and so Lisa was simply featured as our guest vocalist, and we decided to make another song. Yeah, because it went really well with Rhyme Brokers. Then, so that's why we made Beat So Long.
And what was the creative process for that, like going from 2 to 3 people and featuring more of like the melodic vocals in addition to the rap?
I remember like the creation of Being So Long. It was in my room in Yokohama. Verbal and Lisa was there, and Lisa was like really pissed. Not to us, but because she said how industry worked, and she was talking about how she has been mistreated, or like,
She was doing solo prior to that.
So and was talking that to Verbal, and that conversation actually like really inspired the lyrics of the song. I think I can't remember her you talking about it. Do you remember?
Yeah, now that you mentioned, it was kind of about, getting back into music, well, for Lisa, and then sort of, as the title says, it's been so long, it's been too long for us to, make a comeback or show the world what we got, So Lisa would sing that, and she really felt the lyrics and the melody she was coming up with, and I had some lyrics, and in Taku's house in Yokohama, that's where the magic happened, So Planet Shining in the first album, we pretty much had the writer's camp in his house. His mom would always do this dope cooking, like she made really, really great food, I think that was like pretty much what fueled our inspiration. We would like write all day and all night. We made most of the songs, right?
Yeah.
For Planet Shining at your house.
Well, especially the first album was
Yeah.
And so like, you guys famously did 2 albums with her, and both of them were like absolutely magical, kind of cemented you guys in the industry. But then she left, and it seemed kind of sudden, but I mean, of course, we don't really know the full story for it.
She wanted to quit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's more to it than that.
She says, this is what she says. She said everything was going too fast. Like, you know, look, we had like a, do you say, do you call it promotion? You want to see? We have promotion. Is that?
We had like all this like
the press meeting.
Yeah, it's a press day, right? Like we were there from 7 in the morning and like almost like 12 at midnight doing all the interviews and like some of them asking real stupid questions and we were getting tired. And yeah, and that was happening like every day and like so the number one, Lisa got tired of that. And number two, this is my opinion. Lisa was solo to begin with. And when she joined m-flo, she really wanted to still do her solo stuff. And she was mentioning that to me. So it was kind of a natural thing that she said she wanted to do solo. Except I thought she didn't have to wait. But well, her reason is she said things were going to move really crazy. And also, I think, like, my opinion, like, Lisa is, like, someone who is, like, either black or white. Like, you are in a group or you are a solo. And I think she just decided to leave because she wanted to just pick one. Because she's kind of extreme. Like,
she's not a multitasker.
Yeah. I mean, and that's actually, like, good part of her, like, her personality-wise. I like how she is, but
she likes to focus on one thing, and when she does, she wants to just go all out.
And we were all tired too. Like Verbal was like saying, "Hey, we should stop her," and I was like, "Nah, let her go." Oh, I mean, we're still good friends.
Yeah, of course, obviously.
I mean, even after she left, we kept on, we weren't fighting or anything, but. This is a very raw story.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of fans were curious about it. Yeah, it seemed really rough. And I mean, like, that kind of leads into like where I wanted to go next with it was like, you know, when she left the group, your reaction almost kind of answers this, but did you guys feel like compelled to continue like right away? Or because there was like a one year gap or 2 year gap between Expo and Love.
I'm gonna make a run through this, but just to add to the situation, we both had, we also wanted to do producing.
Yeah. You were doing Heart Tales around the same time.
Yeah, and I was, the G, and I was into doing crystal-based stuff, G. So we were into doing producing stuff. Sorry, just the background.
Okay. So when Lisa was mentioning that she wanted to do solo, I think all of us were in a different space. So she was kind of in this solo mode. Taku was always producing. Me, going back to the whole masters thing, for me, doing music was always my lifelong dream. But at the same time, I was thinking, oh cool, that pays my tuition. So I was actually going back and forth between Boston and Japan. So my time in Japan was very limited. So when I'm in Japan, I would do the press, record, like hella record, like do like lots of verses. So for me, staying in Japan was not really an option until Lisa left the group. And
that reminds me, like, so you decide to come to Japan, like you decide to leave college, and you were ready to come back to Japan, and after that, Lisa said she went quick, right?
Well, yeah. So that timeline is a little bit foggy for me. But what happened was I was like, okay, I gotta go and get my degree or whatever, right? Although my heart was in music, it was like going back to my Korean parents, and they're like, graduate, you gotta be whatever. So anyway, I had 1 feet in like getting my degree and 1 feet in doing music. So I was doing this audition show called ASEAN, which where, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but that's like a big, it's like American Idol kind of show back in the days where I was judging all the hip hop artists where Heartstales came out of. And so around that time I was thinking, oh, that's cool, you know, that'd be kind of fun to produce this female rap duo. And I was kind of thinking about coming back and really focusing on doing music, but I guess that's around the time when Lisa decided to move on. So we thought, hey man, you know, we got m-flo, like we don't want to stop doing m-flo. What are we gonna do? It's like, but m-flo without Lisa is like Guns N' Roses without Axl Rose, you know? What are you gonna do? So we thought, hey, what if we always feature different artists? And we were listening to a lot of American music and saw how Pharrell or Neptunes was always featuring different artists, and it was a norm in the States. In Japan, it was like unheard of. So, you know, we'll probably talk about this more later, but when we suggested this idea to the label, like, oh, you know what, Lisa's gone, but look, we're gonna feature all the cool artists, we're gonna produce like we always have. It's gonna be m-flo featuring, because there was no word loves back then, m-flo featuring so-and-so. And then they would go, oh man, that's just like various artists' album, that's not gonna work, you know, that's not m-flo. So, you know, it took a little convincing, but yeah, that's how it all started, the whole m-flo loves.
And so, like, in that, featuring different people, you worked with, like, a ton of legendary people. Like, you know, like, just unbelievable talents. Yeah. You guys also kind of, like, broke the career for a bunch of people through your albums as well. How did you go about selecting the people that you're going to feature or work with on these tracks at the time?
We just kept on listening to different music. I mean, like we were always like searching for artists. Like, we were at, like, we went to record stores, like CD stores, and always check for something new.
I think now, if we were doing loves now, we would do like 5 albums, because, you know, you would go on Instagram or something and just like look up people, and, you know, but back then, this is 2003, so what we would do is go check out all these different sites, you know, for new artists, up and coming artists. We would read every magazine, and that's how we actually found Melody. She was, they would attach these CDs onto magazines of upcoming artists, and Melody just released the song called Dreaming Away. And we thought, like, wow, she's dope. So we just called up the label, we're like, can we feature her? And they were surprised, because they were like, oh, she just came out with 1 song, are you sure? And then so we feature her. We would listen to these, like, we would check out these J-pop forums. They would have these BBSs, right? Where American chat rooms where, you know, it was an American chat room where everyone would discuss Japanese music. And then they would have this different outlook or perspective on Japanese music, because they had like America had limited information on Japan. So they would say, oh, there's this super cool artist called Yoshika, and she's a soul singer. And I was like, Yoshika, I've never heard of her. I went to the CD shop, they were like, we never heard of her. So I went to a couple of different CD shops, finally found Straight Ahead, it was an EP. We're like, brought it back, and then we're listening.
You showed it to me, I remember you brought me the CD, yeah.
We're like, this is like the best singer, we'll feature her. And then we would make, like, go after that. So we were digging hard.
We were, yeah.
That's amazing.
I didn't know you found out Yoshika from Florida.
It was from jpopsomething.com. And then people were discussing her like crazy, like, oh, she's got this groove, and, you know, she's R&B, and the way people would analyze music here gave, you know, us a different, you know, view on how to listen to Japanese artists. We're like, oh, that's interesting, like, I never thought of it that way, you know? So, yeah, definitely, now, if it was Instagram, I think we would have, like, even more ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's, to the point we should.
So, like, with the Love series, you guys did 3 albums, and, like, just a ton of tracks on. And then Award Supernova came out, and it didn't really have, it was like a best of with like one new track on it, but it felt really final. Like it felt like it was like an ending. At that time, were you guys kind of like done with everything? Like, cause there was like a long break between that and the next stuff that you guys worked on. What was your mindset around the time that was released?
What was the word supernova?
It was with, we would have Emily Yoshika at least on one song.
Love Comes and Goes.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes, I know that album. Like frankly speaking, I was kind of tired. I was doing love series, and I was tired of doing m-flo. I wanted to do something else back then. So, and both Verbal and I were looking in different directions at that time. Well, after that time, that's where we happened to be. During that period, we weren't releasing music. And we weren't really in good terms, like we weren't really fighting, but we were not like really close like now. And for me, I really got tired of featuring people, and I wanted to really focus on electronic music. And you know, we have timings and moods. I don't want to say mood swings, but like mood. You know, there's a mood for being in m-flo mode and doing something else. And I think it was a lot of me facing the other direction. I did not want to talk about m-flo even. And well, during that time, Verbal was kind of like protecting m-flo. Just like, not protecting, but like he kept m-flo going. So I was like, dude, I think I was a crazy artist type, and Verbal was like, you know, trying to make sure m-flo doesn't collapse.
I was a nice guy.
So like that kind of attitude and kind of like being kind of done with the time, you guys had like a 5-year break. What was it that prompted Square One to happen? Like what made you want to get back into Taku, and like how did you guys like make that happen again?
Verbal convinced me at Korean barbecue restaurant.
Well, you know what? I think m-flo is really interesting because for me, like I said, I've known Taku since 5th grade. We had different sets of friends. You know, music was what bonded us. So every time we would go and explore and find out new things, we would bring it back. And you know, m-flo was the outlet. You know, this is where we got to just really hone in on the experiences we've had. So around the time when we weren't doing m-flo, that's around the time when actually I started DJing as well. There was this music or cultural renaissance going on. It was like 2006, 2007. People were just tired of just doing rock. People were just tired of doing hip hop. So there was this club called Le Baron in Tokyo where fashion people, music people, art people, architects, business people, they would just get together like every night of the week. It was like the Japanese Studio 54, you know? And people would just like DJ, whether they're a DJ or not, or, you know, people would exchange ideas, and this is where people would do collaborations. They're like, you know, just hanging out. They're like, oh yeah, we should do this, and we should try this new, you know, technology and incorporate it into a party. And, you know, companies were, you know, kind of commissioning up-and-coming artists to do interesting projects, and this is where like things were happening. And what Taku was mentioning about m-flo, just to kind of fill in, or you know, please interject if I'm wrong, but I think around that time, even myself, I was feeling a little frustrated because we wanted to sort of explore new music. And you know, if you DJ in the States, if you're an artist and you have a hit, you want to play that when you DJ, right? But in Japan, if you play your own hit when you DJ, it's like not cool or something. So, you know, there was this weird, you know, right? Yeah, so there was that weird thing. So we would kind of avoid that, but we don't want to avoid it because it's our song. So we would remix it or play around with it, but people are like, oh, like, why do you want to mix it up? Like, Japan is kind of, unique in that way. So I think that created the frustration and sort of made us want to leave it all together at one point. Although it's our home and we wanted to do it. Whereas when we come overseas, everyone just celebrates it for what it is. That's why, like last night, people singing our songs all in Japanese. So people knowing the songs is a crazy concept for us, because in Japan, some people don't even almost forgot about it, or they're not really they don't know the lyrics to it like that. They take it for granted. So for us, I think that was the reason why we kind of left it for a bit, just because we couldn't really make the two coexist. Now it's okay. We would mix in Come Again. Taku would chop up a remix and we would make it blend into anything we do, like the whole set. But back then it was kind of taboo almost.
So was this concept of not really being able to play your music in the clubs what sparks the more electronic or EDM sound that you did on that and Evan and Future as well?
I was very clubby, and this is the Square One is purely from my DJing experience, I think, and both of our DJing experience, and this is before when the word EDM existed, but a lot of people were pissed off. I remember.
I think the frustration also came from the fact that there was new technology coming up, so we were sort of dabbling with new, projection mapping. That's when it just came out. He was more of a tech guy, he's into it, and we hadn't known that, but I think that with digitalization of music and the Japanese music industry not really following suit, and us thinking, wow, we gotta move forward and do all this new stuff. I think there was a discrepancy between where we wanted to go versus where the Japanese music was, because around that time, there was this thing called copy control CDs, where you couldn't copy songs off of this CD, and it would kind of eat into our publishing, so it made no sense altogether, and it died in 1 year anyway. So it would kind of do everything to try to stop people from copying, which is impossible,
Yeah.
So I think our minds were in different places, and we wanted to sort of progress, and that frustration made us want to, I guess, get further and further away and try to do new things.
Yeah, and a lot of people, although we did very well ourselves for the album, it was a big change in m-flo. Square One was a big change compared to what Loves was doing. And it kind of took time. At first, I saw a lot of people complain about the album, but nowadays if I check the YouTube, all I want to see. Thanks, yeah. I thought it was a good song, but people didn't like it back then. I just don't know. It's still what we wanted to do.
I think there's 3 eras to m-flo. There was the original Lisa era, the Loves and Onwards era, and then when Lisa came back now era. So it's in a nutshell. So I think people who are more attached to the m-flo 1.0, they were like, all that electronic music, we're not down with it. They're just they just had no emotional attachment to it whatsoever. So I don't think even the labels, the people, who are into the m-flo originally, were not really fond of the new concept, especially when we did it Square One. And whereas Taku and I, we would see people mixing and collaborating and doing new things, and we would see the world, because he would be starting to DJ overseas as well. So we would personally experience these new scenes popping up. So I think we were hungry for that.
Interesting. So you mentioned that there's like 3 eras, and obviously like we're in the 3rd of those eras.
The m-flo 2.0 has many episodes, so there's like 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, there's like up to 2.11.
And so we're technically, I mean, wouldn't you kind of call this like m-flo 1.5 in a way though, now that Lisa's back?
Good point.
But I'm like, you know, we've covered in the past, and I think a lot of people are already very aware of, like, you've been talking to Lisa for a while prior to her coming back to the group, and it wasn't something that happened overnight. But was there something in particular when you guys decided that you were going to get together and record again and start doing stuff again? Was there like any one particular moment that caused you guys to start doing it again?
For me, it was coming to US and talking to, I get to talk to people in US at the conventions. ASAN did a lot of, gave me a lot of influence. Because I never wanted to listen to Explore Attention back then. I was kind of tired of my old stuff, and I was just like, you know, some people were playing our song, and I'm like, okay, it doesn't sound that bad. Alright, let me listen together. Yeah, I see some plot holes, and, you know, or not plot holes, but like flaws in there, but it sounded kind of like exciting to me. So I thought, hey, why don't we call Lisa back? That was my point.
I think we've always wanted Lisa back. So on Beat Space 9, that was our 4th album, we already featured her. So it was like m-flo loves Lisa, and you know, we had always, our initial intent was for her to stay. But so, you know, we've always had that door open for her, you know, if she wanted to come back. I mean, essentially, right? You know, we wanted her to come back, but I think she couldn't come to terms with the fact that she had left, but come back, although we were cool with it. So years later, you know, as Taku was mentioning, we're like, we should just do m-flo, and she's like, yeah, that's cool, you know. I mean, it was a little longer process, but I think around that time it was sort of that it was the right timing.
So, you know, after not working together like regularly for so long, you've done a couple collaborations in that period of time, but after not working together for so long, and now like releasing stuff, you know, you were talking about how the Square One era kind of a really different sound from classic m-flo and what people were used to, and now in this new era with Lisa back, I'd actually go as far as to say that you guys are even more eclectic than you were when you first started. Like, what's the creative process like now, working with Lisa again and working on this mixed bag of new tracks versus how it was when you guys first started doing stuff together?
I don't know. I can't really tell.
I think for Taku and myself, you know, we were into different things like music. He went on to start Block FM and incorporate different companies. You know, I would do fashion and stuff, so we were in different spaces, so that sort of stretched us and, you know, beyond doing music. But Lisa just kept going at it with doing music. He was like she was like, you know, just totally focused on music. So because we were in different spaces, head spaces, when we got back together, it took a while for us to sort of, you know, focus.
Our lifestyle is so different.
Lifestyle was different, you know, so we were now used to going to these meetings and, you know, gathering everyone in one room and be like, okay, let's start m-flo. Lisa's like, I'm not going to meetings like that's I'm not going to talk to Suits, you know, you guys do that. Oh, okay, you know, well, someone has to talk to Suits, you know, so we go talk to them, you know, we need budget, you know, whatever. So we would do that, and then, but, you know, eventually we're like, you know, Lisa, like, you know, yo, we gotta do this, like, it's a team effort. And so now she's on TV a lot, you know, because she's really good at it. She's like really funny, you know.
She's funny,
yeah. She's like very emotional, like emotionally expressive, and you know, she's very unique. So she would be doing that, and we would, you know, hold forth and do music, you know, make the tracks, and you know, come up with the whole bass and, you know, so I think we're starting to get that groove back.
Yeah, we're almost done with the album, and hopefully we can release it then this year. And, yeah, it's tricky. And well, we're about to finish our album. We're also thinking about coming up with next album as soon as possible, right after this album. I cannot talk about this. But yeah, we wanna be pleased after that's the word.
Surprise.
Yeah. So we'll be, you know, it took us a long time to create our album, Lisa, but we finally found like how we felt was right, but we want to keep the groove going and yeah, give you a surprise after that album too. So please, you know, be checking us. I think you're before that, right?
No, and actually when Taku was here yesterday, I don't know if you guys were here for the panel, but you know, he was mentioning about how for OTAQUEST, if you guys have any suggestions, we're super welcome. Same goes for m-flo. This is our, you know, reenactment or, you know, our new like step with m-flo, Lisa again. So, you know, if you guys have any suggestions or ideas, you know, we're open for, you know, options and ideas. So please let us know, you know, throw us any comments or, you know, oh, I don't like that track or, you know, whatever, you know. It really gives us a new, like outlook on things. So yeah, please, that'd be great.
Yeah, so hit them up on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. They're all over the place.
I'm pretty responsive to Twitter.
And he's really responsive. Like, throw him all the questions.
Yeah.
So, like, we have to wrap up. It's like 9:30 now. I do want to ask one last question. As I open the panel, I mentioned that, you know, for those who are not aware of it, this is your guys' 20th anniversary this year. And if there's anything that you guys can say, kind of like reflecting on that time, how you're feeling right now, being in the industry for so long and like still having continued success, like what would that feeling kind of be?
The more we do, we discover about ourselves, and like we've been doing a lot of like what's the word?
Soul searching.
Yeah, soul searching. There you go. Yeah, thank you, soul searching. And we find out what we really want to do, and we want to surprise people. We want to do something different. We want to do something unique. We want to do something that we feel is hot and fresh. And that's, you know, it's about, I know it's about celebrating 20 years and what we accomplished, what, you know, our listeners have accomplished, but I think I'm really focused more on what we do next. And yeah, like you say, you know, Japan has changed a lot. It has evolved in a different way. Although the music industry itself is not doing well, like there are tons of great artists in Japan that is not introduced around the world. And I should stop talking about it.
But I think it's about, you know, first of all, I never really imagined that we would celebrate our 20th anniversary. That's crazy, you know, I thought that was like an old man thing, like, oh, 20 years, like, that's crazy, man, you know. We would see some DJs having DJ for 20 years, we're like, oh, yo, that's insane, but we're here, you know. And so we're celebrating the journey of 20 years that we've had together, but to Taku's point, we're still hungry and we're always searching and, you know, we're looking for that next thing. So, you know, we're joking around saying, yeah, man, you know, let's keep at it until we celebrate like 50th year anniversary or something, you know. Just keep going and, you know, doing new things. And I think there was a question that we had earlier at a different session, but I think the more you keep going at it, there's new aha moments, even though you think, oh man, it'll never happen. Like, you know, we've done everything and anything possible, but when you keep continuing, there's always, you know, new light at the end of the tunnel when you think it's like just darkness, you know? So that's our experience doing m-flo and everything we've done. So yeah, we want to keep going at it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to talk. We're going to have to do a round 2 panel sometime to get all the rest of these questions I got.
Yeah, for sure.
And thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.